We are recording on Monday, May 19th, 2025, 12:34 p.m. Eastern Time with Miss Clare Lopez. Guys, you can go to the description. You can follow her on Twitter. And as we were just, yeah, I don't even really know. I think it's only been 2 weeks since we last talked, and I
I
was
think
going to
so.
say
Yeah.
we've already completely escalated and de-escalated between India and Pakistan. And so, yeah, that's kind of, it seems like every week, every two, we have the former head of the FBI putting a very uncryptic message,
Oof.
8640. That, that, that's everyone knows what that means. Everyone
Actually,
knows.
I did not. I never
Okay.
heard the code for 86. Now, my daughter, who's in rest and son-in-law in the restaurant business, they may know that. I never heard that before. 47, of course,
Being the president.
President Trump, surely. But I didn't know what 86 was.
Yeah, no, I did, and some people have pointed to like conservative influencer. I think Jack Posay, I can never say his last name.
Posobiec.
He had tweeted something like 2 years ago and said 8646. And first of all, no, then go to him too. Secret Service, I don't care. Be equal. There is a difference when you're the former head
I would say,
of the
yeah.
large, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's behind Department of Homeland Security now, but the FBI, they're not exactly, Keystone Cops. That's like a paramilitary organization, and you know it.
They
You can't,
had to know,
yeah.
and
Well,
he had to know.
and
Yes.
and what else? Okay, so let's say he didn't. What in God's name is the former head of the FBI? He's just posting pictures.
Yeah,
It's
walking on the beach.
it's so first of all, if anyone posts that, yeah, go and apply the law equally to everyone. I don't care. It's very, but at the same time, I feel like this is kind of child's play in comparison to, Biden saying we're going to put him in the crosshairs, and what 2 days later, somebody puts Trump in the crosshairs. So I shouldn't be
Uh,
surprised, but yeah. So I guess that's kind of that's the pace for
Well,
2025.
it's being
Escalation.
investigated. I mean,
Yeah.
it's being taken very seriously. I don't know if you saw on I forget which show, but Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard speaking very seriously about how they're taking this whole episode and investigating.
Well, and I know there's another, I can't remember his name, but there's like another huge leftist influencer account who did the same thing, and he was visited by the Secret Service like within
You
12
mean
hours.
seashells on a beach?
No, it was another picture of 8647.
Oh, took a picture
I
of?
think it was like pool
Oh,
balls or
uh-huh.
something.
Okay.
And
Oh,
that,
I saw that one. I know what you're talking about. I saw it. Yeah.
yeah, and it's like you can't be
With the
so.
cue stick lined up
Yeah,
behind.
you
I saw
can't,
that.
and it's in full disclosure. It's for the same reason I always say in the pod, especially when I have on like the special forces guys who don't, they don't really filter anything. That's why over the years you can go back to any episode of the last 5 years of me going, and just to clarify, that's not inciting violence because I'm very aware of like what happens when you can't do that.
No,
And
no.
but yeah, again, so I think that's kind of the pace. We have death threats to the president from the former head of the largest domestic intelligence agency, as well as an escalation and de-escalation of nuclear war between India and Pakistan. We have a Mexican Navy ship crashing into the Brooklyn Bridge.
That was insane.
That was
But
wild.
you know what, Tommy, that reminded me of when that other ship, what was it, a couple
Baltimore.
years ago, crashed into the
Baltimore.
Key Bridge, right,
Yeah.
Baltimore, Maryland. But in each of these cases, the current one and the previous, what was cited is a loss of engine power, meaning then that the ship lost control. Um, so what causes loss of engine control? That's the question that struck me when I saw that report from this one and recalled the last one.
You could say sabotage. I was going to say the Francis Scott Key Bridge. That one, okay, maybe I could see the argument it was engine control because it kind of swerved out of the way. But the one in the Brooklyn Bridge, that was height. I don't think they can
It
pin that
was,
on.
but the reporting that I saw or heard said that the ship lost propulsion, lost engine control, and was drifting backwards into uh, the bridge.
All right. I mean,
So I'm not. I just want to wait and see more reporting out of that. But at the moment, I'm curious because both of those incidents cited loss of engine control.
okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
In terms of, and I don't know when it actually goes through, and I should know, but what role does, because I have no idea how it's proportioned, but I know, like when during the global war on terror, you have the DoD budget and then you have like appropriations for an ongoing war, and it's not necessarily always there. Obviously, we don't still have appropriations for the Vietnam War or something. What do you make of Trump? I mean, other than it could very well be inflation. I don't know, in which case it's kind of a nothing burger. But what do you make of Trump giving the biggest budget ever to the DoD? Of they said it's going to clear $1 trillion. Is that
All that.
is
Yeah.
that is that a I don't know. Is that a sign of things to come? Is this just Trump just being a showman? What do you think?
No, I think it's the realization that we are woefully behind, for example, China, in things like shipbuilding,
Hmm.
in things like modernizing our military and, its weaponry inventory, woefully behind. And so I can understand why that increase was included in this budget bill that, by the way, just apparently passed the budget committee in the House of Representatives late last night, being on a
Okay.
Sunday night. Um, and we'll see where it goes from here. I think it has to go to Rules Committee, and then the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, has been saying he wants to get it to a floor vote before the end of this week. So we'll see about that. But as far as that, that item, the DoD budget increase, I can see why. And probably, when the new Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, got there and took stock of the situation, that probably had a lot to do with that line item being included in this budget bill. There's some other things in it, though, I'm not so sure about, but I realize that you can't always get everything you want, and uh, there are compromises that have to be made to get this bill through. Big beautiful bill, as Trump calls it. I would have liked to have seen less, if any, funding for the Green New Deal scam. I would have loved to have seen no tax on Social Security. But I know that compromises had to be made, and to their credit, I think it's four members of the House Freedom Caucus that had been standing firm for the things that they wanted to see or not see in this bill. They voted present last night rather than stand against the passage of the bill out of committee. So it does advance to the next committee, and then I guess the floor. We'll see.
I'm surprised any of the Green New Deal stuff got. I mean, I'm with you. It is a compromise thing. It's,
Yeah.
don't purity spiral, right? I don't think I've
don't
ever,
don't let don't let the
pro
good be the enemy of the perfect, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Perfection prevent progress.
I mean, other things like purging Medicaid of waste, fraud, and abuse, demanding that the able-bodied get work, paid salary, paycheck kind of work in return for receipt of Medicaid benefits. So, lots of things like that. Maybe they can still be tweaked. I don't know exactly how that'll work now, but as you say, yeah, agreed. It's a compromise situation, and it's an enormous bill with so many, elements to it. Obviously, every single person there um, on the Republican side is not going to agree with every single item. So I'm glad that they reached a compromise. Maybe it can be tweaked a little bit further, but we'll see in the coming week.
What is so impactful? I mean, I know I always treat you like a crystal ball and just ask you my geopolitical questions, but what was so impactful about Trump's visit to the Middle East? what I mean, I get the fanfare and it's hey, look, they're showing him more respect and it's a red carpet. Is I get all that.
Purple carpet in
Yeah,
what, Saudi Arabia, I think that was, right?
yeah. So I get all like the surface level and sure. What is actually impactful about it? Is it just all fanfare? Oh, we're in union with each other and our strongest ally? Is it all just kind of the same old, same old? Is there
No,
something
not at
different?
all. It
Okay.
is not at all the same old, same old. Although I will say that the dates chosen for this trip, with the first stop in Saudi Arabia, then I guess they went to Qatar, and after that the United Arab Emirates. But the date, mid-May, this year, was to have been President Trump's first overseas official visit of this new term, except that during April, of course, Pope Francis passed away, and so President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump went to Rome for the funeral. But if you'll remember, um, the middle of May, exactly 8 years ago, during President Trump's first term, in 2017, that would have been his first overseas trip, was to Saudi Arabia. He is repeating that, or intended to. I mean, but for the passing away of Pope Francis, right? But the date chosen for this Middle East trip, beginning in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, was exactly intended to send the message of picking up where he left off in his first term, and specifically that first trip and talk to the assembled Sunni leadership in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. So I think it was very important um, that he stopped first in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, that he conveyed the message that he hopes that discussions, talks about expanding the Abraham Accords, maybe to include formal inclusion, signatory by signature by Saudi Arabia, would be able to happen now in this his second term. Um, the realization that in these intervening 4 years of the Biden administration, there have been behind the scenes continuous talks, connections, not just between the United States, um, not just the Biden administration, but I mean others too, in terms of business contacts, sports contacts, all kinds of investment by private business and so forth between Americans and Saudi Arabia, but officially between Saudi Arabia and Israel, because that's what really, will matter as to the expansion of the Abraham Accords. So I think that was hugely important. Yes, the commercial part of it also matters. Great big hundreds of billions of dollars of deals, in particular weapons deals between the United States and Saudi Arabia, but other kinds of investment by Saudi Arabia with the United States. Yes, that was a very important part of it. And then, of course, the next stop being Qatar, I was a little bit less enthusiastic about that stop because Qatar has been sort of playing, not sort of, been playing both sides here. Not only is it, BFFs with the Islamic Republic of Iran, with which it sponsors, backs, funds jihadi Islamic terror organizations all over the Middle East, to include Hamas, to include Hezbollah, to include the Houthis. It hosts, Qatar that is, hosts even now the remaining leadership of Hamas that is located outside of the Gaza Strip. People like Khalid Mashal, people like the new political leader that took Ismail Haniya's place, political leader, his last name is Al Haya, hosts these in Doha, in Qatar, has in the past served as a host for relationships with Al Qaeda, with the Taliban, um, is basically the home away from home for the Muslim Brotherhood and those who have fled Egypt. For example, the longtime juridical scholar Yusuf al-Qaradawi, leader of the juridical leadership of the Muslim Brotherhood, hosted him in Doha for many years until he passed away a few years ago. Hosts the International Union of Muslim Scholars, which Yusuf al-Qaradawi headed until he passed. The IUMS, International Union of Muslim Scholars, just again recently, issued statements backing Hamas and what it did, the atrocities it committed against Israel and Israelis, as well as others, Americans and other nationalities too, on October the 7th of 2023. That's headquartered in Doha. Shall I go on? Al Jazeera, the mouthpiece for the Muslim Brotherhood, is headquartered in Doha. And last but hardly least, Qatar supports and funds um, programs, scholarly programs at U.S. think tanks like Brookings, which, by the way, has a campus in Doha, funds think tanks and our universities and colleges with billions of dollars over the years those dollars come with strings attached, such as instituting in those universities um, programs for Middle East studies, um, hosting or hiring deans and heads of programs like Middle East studies programs at these universities that take its money, like Harvard, like any of the Ivy Leagues. Um, all of that to the detriment, to weaken, to get inside of our institutions with a pro-Muslim Brotherhood, pro-jihadi message, curricula, programming, etc. I mean, if that litany is not long enough, um, that's a problem. Now, in addition to that, there's the other side. Yes, Qatar hosts the great big Air Force base, American U.S. Air Force Base Al Udeid in Qatar, um, from which, though, um, these flights do take off in support of supporting Israel, countering the Houthis, kind of a bit, schizophrenic there. Um, but also, Qatar has served as an intermediary in negotiations to obtain the release of hostages held by Hamas, to include most recently um, a dual American-Israeli citizen, Aidan Alexander, and thankfully he comes home, and others as well have been released. But again, you can see that Qatar is playing a double game here. It's playing both sides, and we kind of let that go on. In the meantime, um, the Trump company, the Trump family company, has announced it's going to be building a great big, gorgeous luxury 18-hole golf course resort in Qatar. And then, of course, which really made the news, the gift of that Boeing 747 jet to the United States, not to Donald Trump personally, no, to the United States and specifically to the Department of Defense, which is in control of, supervises, provides the planes that are designated as Air Force One. So putting all that together, it's a mixed bag, right? But I do have a problem with them, Qatar, playing both sides, and us kind of going along with that.
I guess I'm not surprised. I'm not a fan of it, but I'm not surprised. Yeah, I feel like that's probably the move. If you're like a smaller country on the world stage, you to play both sides. It's not right. Doesn't inspire confidence, but I'm not surprised. It's like, I don't know. It's like a sleazeball like bookie. Like, yeah, he's probably taking money from friends betting against each other. It's not right. And I don't know if I'm being too generous. It could really just be a manifestation of nothing is a monolith. It's just there's different factions. But yeah, I would imagine that's a lot of it is I think prioritized would be something. Like, there's a great book called Base Nation by David Vine. He's a professor at Yale, I think. Kind of, super far. His whole book was about how bad it is. I thought it was just an interesting book based
How
on
bad would it?
how bad it is for America to have bases around the
Oh,
world.
I see. I see.
It's whatever. You're an adult. You're allowed to have a different opinion than me. I liked the book just for its citations and its logistics. But there are many cases in there where you can see the U.S. kind of turning a blind eye to whatever's happening in this region of whatever country, so long as we can put either like a drone base there or it's a jumping off point for special forces. I don't claim to know any of this. I'm certainly not the arbiter, but it does seem to be that is a priority for U.S. foreign policy. Is like first things first. Can we put some munitions there? Like, can we put our is it right? Is it wrong? I have no idea, but it's not
I mean, does
surprising to me.
but does the transactional part of this, and yes, there
Oh, sure. Is it worth it? I have
have
no
been,
idea.
terrific benefits in terms of investment from there to the United States. But does that balance out the malign role, the jihadi supporting role, the Muslim Brotherhood, Hamas supporting role that Qatar plays, and now most recently, um, supporting the jihadi regime of Ahmed al-Shara, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham in what used to be called Syria, in Damascus. You know, uh, it was the Assad regime backed by Iran's regime that was ousted back in December 24 by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, but now Qatar, which is BFFs with Iran, is okay with supporting al-Shara. I'm getting lost here.
I'm with you. It's certainly it's kind of I think it was a Hurricane Sandy. When was that? Like 2011, 2012. I just remember there's this like famous
The East
picture.
Coast?
Yeah, about how
Uh-huh.
like all of Lower Manhattan was just blacked out, no power. There
Yeah.
was one building with lights on, and it was Goldman Sachs. And everyone was like, "Why do they still get power?" And they actually came out and had to make it because it was such bad PR. Everyone was like, "Oh, the bankers get the power." They were like, "No, we have generators on
Backup
they
generators.
had
I
backups
would
for their
expect
backups. So
that,
they had
right?
backups in the basement, and then their backups, I think, were on the 10th floor for
Oh,
something like this.
oh,
And people are like, they have power, and I was like, yeah, no, ideally, yeah, we'd all have power. But I just remember thinking, like, are you surprised? Like, it's every second is money for them. That's kind of how I look at this. Is like, I'm not surprised that DoD priority comes first, and a blind eye to a lot of bad things get kind of brushed under the rug. I would say more than anything, I'm with you. It's a bit schizophrenic. I'm not surprised though. It
yeah.
doesn't mean I like
Okay.
sign off on it. I go,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, can we put we can land a Reaper drone there? Yeah, don't be surprised if we're looking the other way at a lot of stuff. It's not right. It's just what it is. It's a one thing that I feel like has gone completely out the window. I stopped. I deleted Twitter off my phone
You did?
about a week ago. Well, no,
On
no, no, no.
purpose?
Yeah, yeah. Well, so like, every day I download all the social media apps to upload the podcast to, and then I delete them because I don't think it's for my own good for my own mental health because I just scroll Instagram or
Oh,
Facebook or whatever. But I always kept Twitter on there, and I finally got rid of it a couple days ago, and that I was just like, "Hey, I just can't consume news all day every day. So if I'm a little out of the loop, that's why. But I feel like we haven't really seen a whole lot since the Trump Zelensky Oval Office blow up. I know that there was a blurb, I don't know if it was last week, about them coming back to the table and signing off on a mineral deal. Is that
Yeah,
still kind of the
yes,
forefront of
that
that
did
entire?
happen. The United States and Ukraine came to agreement over this natural resources deal that includes rare earth elements, minerals, as well as other things. That happened back in April, I think. So that's been concluded. But more recently, and this was very recently, um, the Ukrainians and the Russians were to have met in Turkey, in Istanbul. And both Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and Russian President Vladimir Putin were to have been there, as well as their staffs around them. But it didn't quite turn out that way. That was going to be just a couple of days ago, end of last week, I think. And what happened in the end is that after Putin, it was, who issued the invitation for face to face meetings, after he did that, Zelensky accepted kind of immediately. And I suspect that may have taken the Russians aback a bit because maybe they didn't expect that he would accept so readily, that he would be the one to say to be reluctant. I'm looking over here to see some notes here. So what actually happened in the end is that Zelensky did go to Turkey. So did our delegation that included Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Ukraine envoy, retired General Keith Kellogg, um, and oh yeah, I think it was also our envoy Steve Witkoff was there too. Um, and on the Russian side, Vladimir Putin didn't show up. He decided not to go after he's the one that made the invitation. But as soon as Zelensky agreed, oh, okay, I'm not coming. Instead, from the Russian side, we had Putin's presidential aide, Vladimir Medinsky. We had the deputy foreign minister of Russia, Mikhail Galuzin. We had the deputy defense minister, Alexander Fomin, and the head of Russia's military intelligence agency, the GRU, Igor Kostyukov. That's who showed up for the Russians. Um, So basically, the talks really went nowhere. Russia continues to stick to its demands, even for a ceasefire, even to get to a 30-day ceasefire. Russia demands that Ukraine um, acknowledge Russian sovereignty, not just illegal invasion and occupation, but sovereignty over four of the Ukrainian oblasts. That's kind of like a province, right? Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson, and Zaporizhia, which are sort of in the east and the southern part of Ukraine. Well, Ukraine's not going to do that. That's its sovereign territory. Put its sovereign territory and its people, Ukrainian citizens, under Russian occupation and conquest? Well, no, they're not going to do that, but the Russians demand that. They also demand that the government in Kiev be replaced. They also demand that the West or Europe, NATO, US, stop and all military support for Ukraine, that Ukraine denounce or renounce any intention ever or effort ever to apply for membership to NATO. All of this Russia keeps demanding before it will even agree to a temporary ceasefire. So it's pretty obvious, which side is being the block to reaching any kind of even an intermediate ceasefire. And then we have, as of today, we have the telephone conversation between President Trump and President Putin, and I've not heard a readout on that because Eastern U.S. time that just took place this morning. So I'm not sure how it went. Have not heard the reporting on that yet. But directly, President Trump speaking on the phone to President Putin. We'll have to wait a little bit later today to get the readout on that.
Fair enough. What's I don't know if it's as important if it's just being blown up. What's causing so many people to be so flustered by South Afrikaners coming to the U.S. as refugees? Is it just because they're white?
Pretty easily to know.
It seems
It's
to be
racist. It's pure racism. It's because they're white.
it's
I mean, you could see the photos from, from the images of them being, greeted and granted a refugee status. Moms, dads, little children waving American flags. 59 people in all, as I remember the number, 59, I believe, people.
that's it.
Small number receiving absolutely, um, you know, uh, justified refugee status in the United States. Very few media outlets that I saw, but a few did, covered what's happening, what's been happening for years to white farmers in particular in South Africa, their farms being invaded, the farmers and their families slaughtered, murdered by the hundreds, if not thousands at this point. And all of that backed, supported by the official government
Yeah.
of South Africa, which, by the way, is the key leading uh, force country in the International Criminal Court at The Hague. Attacks against Israel, claiming that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza, which of course it is not. But the nerve, like nobody's going to notice that, there's actual genocide being committed against the white population of South Africa. But groups like the Episcopalian Church, for example, which formerly received quite a bit of U.S. Funding from the State Department for refugee resettlement here in the United States, um, when this announcement of the South African refugees was made, the Episcopalian Church said, oh, well, we don't want to participate in refugee resettlement anymore, so we back out of the program. It's pure racism, nothing more than that.
I don't know. It was only 59. Yeah, so 59 white people. Hell no. An endless horde on the southern border. It's shut
Exactly.
up Nazi. And not only that, I mean, and then you have the South African government saying they're cowards for evading racial justice. You want to kill them. You want to kill them, and you're angry that they're leaving, so you can't have your glory kill. There, there was a meme forever ago that was like, if cute white women were coming over the southern border and stealing the men here, liberal women would form SS units overnight to stop immigration. It was just kind of a funny like that's what would happen. You see like one or two pictures of like attractive women from South Africa, and you have an endless flood of like liberal women on you like blue hair saying saying stuff that makes Trump look liberal. They're
Oh,
like,
it's
"Go back
horrible,
to your
horrible.
land. This isn't your country. We're not a
I mean,
nation."
these
You're
were
like,
families. You could see these were family units coming over, the
yeah, not
father, the
military age
mother, and the
men.
children.
Yeah, not endless dinghies of military age men with not a woman or
No,
child and so.
not at
But
all.
it's just, I mean, I guess the silver lining in it is, if you had any doubts about them being racist, there's your mask
Pretty
off
much
moment.
laid that to rest.
There's your
Yeah.
mask off moment. Yeah, I mean,
And I hope that there are more South Africans on their way here to receive refugee status because I don't know, how they can survive much longer in South Africa.
yeah, I mean, I get that's,
Thousands have been
it,
murdered.
yeah, I get that some are staying. I mean, in theory, I understand the idea of like, this is my land. I'm not leaving. I'll fight to the death. Like, I get that, you got to
Yeah.
make your stand
And they've
somewhere.
been there for hundreds of years.
Yeah, no, I get that, if
But
if I was at my parents' house and there was a horde outside, I mean, I get it. I wouldn't retreat. I'd be like, if this is where I die, I die. I understand that. But man, I mean, what could there be a more clear-cut example of refugee status needing to be? And what do they do when they get here? They're waving American flags.
American
I
flags.
mean,
Yeah.
you couldn't. If this was like an SNL skit, you'd say it's too on the nose.
I mean, we know that they are going to fit in here in America. They're going to build new lives. They're going to assimilate beautifully. These are the kinds of immigrants, legal immigrants, in this case, sadly, in a way, refugees, but these are the ones we want to welcome.
Yeah. So I mean, but if you had any doubt, that's the mask off moment. What do you make of Biden's cancer prognosis?
Oh, well, first of all, our hearts go out in sympathy to
Of
former
course.
President Biden as well as his family facing this now public diagnosis of prostate cancer that is being reported as fairly advanced.
It's
We
gone to the
wish the
bone.
best for him and that treatment goes well. Um, but the commentary we're seeing, across the media is that it probably could not, the cancer probably could not have reached such an advanced stage, including metastasis to the bones, um, this quickly. That how did, his medical people, his President Biden at the times, his medical people, how did they miss this? I'm no medical expert. I can't comment on that part of it. I don't know. Um, but bottom line, our hearts go out to him and his family, and we hope that treatment may be effective.
Yeah, I mean, did some people are like, I can't pray for them. I'm like, a lot of times praying for someone, it's so you maintain your own soul. It's so you
Yeah.
can look at it and go, I have, for my own conscience, I have to know that I'm able to reach out a prayer, and it absolutely is. I've said this for years. I'm like, yeah, he's not there anymore. His brain was gone years ago. I don't like Joe Biden as a dude. That's not Joe Biden. In the same way, my late grandmother was no longer Mimi. Towards the end, she was no, my late grandmother was also a saint on this earth, and nothing at all changed between losing her memory and not. It's because that's who she really is just a saint on this earth. But I look at, and I've said this the last 5 years. I had a really hard time hating Biden as a person because I'm like Joe Biden that we know, like that guy's dead. This is an old guy who has no idea where he is, and it's sad. But and I did see, I think Dr. Drew said it on Twitter. He was like, "What is interesting about this is this isn't a guy who was skipping his physical. He was the president
Yeah,
4 months ago.
yeah.
The president you get top tier medical clearance and screenings, which means that this had to have been going on for a while. They didn't miss it. You don't. I would probably miss it. When's the last time I've gone to a physical? The president didn't, and which just shows that yeah, he probably had this. But I mean, I guess that's not much of a surprise. I mean, if they had that like automatic signing thing, if he was
The
out to
auto
lunch, if
pen.
his mind was gone, I mean, I guess it's one more of like, yeah, I'm not surprised that they also hit a cancer prognosis. That might also be, I'll play devil's advocate. That might be a national security thing. You might not want to broadcast that, you know?
Well, I mean, additionally, I've seen, online posts, commentary to the effect that there actually was an intention on the side of the Democrats that they would let him remain uh, in office, figurehead though he was, as long until his health really, really gave out, maybe no longer with us even, and then they can elevate then Vice President Kamala Harris, who becomes, the first woman um, president in the United States history. I
Yeah,
have
that's
no idea if that was, anybody's idea, but I've heard that um, rooted about as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's dark. But again, yeah, I'm not particularly surprised. And I have no, and this is just more of a thought that just came to me. I wish we would get more updates on what's going on with Space Force. I know that has nothing to do with
Yeah,
the entire
yeah.
conversation. It's just,
Well, no, it
I'm,
could. I mean, in a way, it's national security, right?
yeah, I just wish, I just want to know what's going on. It's all so attractive to me. Um, but I don't know. I feel like we've kind of hit on anything. Is there anything I've missed?
Well, that has covered a great deal of the waterfront, hasn't it?
It has.
Um, maybe we've done a pretty good job. Thank you, Tommy, for all the questions that you came prepared with today. Um, yeah, I mean, we're waiting on news for a number of things, and we'll have to pick up again, whenever our next time may be, to get answers to some of the questions, especially on Ukraine and Russia and the telephone conversation between President Trump and President Putin today. And we're just going to have to wait on some of that. I will mention one other thing that just occurs to me, and that is that there was a recent announcement from the White House on the new advisory board members to the Religious Liberty Commission. And so this came out an official White House statement just 2 days ago, 3 days ago, and President Trump officially is the one who designates these members for this advisory to the advisory position of this religious liberty commission. But probably it was staff that had more to do with the selection of these people. And so there are a couple of different categories. One category is the advisory board itself of religious leaders, and these include a number of respected um, religious leadership figures, Catholic, Christian, a rabbi, Mark Gottlieb, for one, um, pastors, other rabbis, other bishops, and the list is quite a respectable list. Then there is the advisory board of lay leaders, and these include people like Alveda King, much respected leadership figure for the civil rights issues. She is the chair of the Center for the American Dream at the America First Policy Institute. But then we come to the end of that list of the lay advisory board members, and we come to two people in particular. One is Randall Royer, who took the name Ismail after he converted to Islam some time ago. Ismail Randall Royer is an actual convicted jihadi terrorist who trained with the Lashkar-e-Taiba in Pakistan and served 13 years out of a 20-year prison sentence for being part of what was called the Virginia Jihadi Network. Um, yeah, he gets named as one of the lay board advisory members to the Religious Liberty Commission. And then we have one more in this illustrious list, illustrious otherwise, that is. And we have Sheikh Hamza Yusuf. Sheikh Hamza Yusuf is or has been, the head of, I'm looking for it here. Hang on. He, oh, where is it? Uh, Co-founder of the Zaytuna College, an actual authority on Islamic doctrine, law, and scripture, meaning he's a jihadi, an academic kind of a jihadi. And he is the ninth lay, yeah, of the lay list member appointed to the advisory board of lay leaders for the White House Religious Liberty Commission. So, of course, the internet has been, going off on those two appointments, not the rest of them. The rest of them all seem very respectable and quite a diverse group of Jewish and Christian Catholic leadership figures. But these two really give pause and make us wonder um, who exactly were the advisors to President Trump that decided to include a couple of jihadis in a religious liberty commission of the White House. So I would add that for our last item today.
Yeah, I'd say there's still some snakes. Well, it just kind of popped into my mind. Very, very last. What exactly was the grounds for getting India and Pakistan to cease fire?
Well, as I understand it, this was about a weekend ago, right? Over the last weekend, not the one just passed, but the weekend before that. And I believe that our Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, was closely involved in that, as were others. And the concern, of course, is that both India and Pakistan are nuclear armed powers. And the conflict between them seemed at the time to be escalating. Began with the attack by, I'm certain it was Pakistani government intelligence services, the ISI,
Hmm.
Inter-Services Intelligence Directorate of the Pakistani Islamabad government, backed, support, armed, funded, trained these jihadi groups. Lashkar-e-Taiba is one of them that Randall Royer was, over there helping out. Lashkar-e-Taiba, Lashkar-e-Jhangvi, Jaish-e-Mohammed, all of these are jihadi groups that are basically proxies, jihadi proxies of the Pakistani government. In any case, I think it was probably Lashkar-e-Taiba that launched a killing spree against a number of Indian tourists who were in the disputed region between Pakistan and India called Jammu and Kashmir. But it's a very beautiful place, and these tourists from India were there visiting, and the jihadis separated the group out for whomever was Muslim from those who were not Muslim. I think mostly Hindu. I think there may have been a Christian or two in there as well. In any case, separated the group out and murdered, just assassinated, slaughtered in cold blood only those who were not Muslim. That is what kicked this off, as I said a few weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago. And from that point onwards, India, of course, struck back at the Lashkar-e-Taiba terror training camps, base camps of Lashkar-e-Taiba in Kashmir, and that set off the back and the forth because then the Pakistani armed forces got involved, and it escalated to artillery fire back and forth across the border, as well as small arms fire, and also jets in the sky, Pakistani Chinese supplied jets versus in dogfights against the Indian ones. In any case, because it was escalating like that, and because they're both nuclear armed powers, it was urgent, that some mediation take place that would stop the conflict before it got to any worse point. And as I understand it, again, our Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, was closely involved in that.
Yeah, because I think it was like the day before Vance said something along the lines of "This is fundamentally not our business," and then the next day it was like Trump brokers peace deal, and I was like, "What? How do we get from A to B?" But I mean, yeah, no, you do have to address it when it's nuclear armed powers. That conflagration can very quickly
Yeah.
destroy the world in about an hour. So, yeah, fair enough. But yeah, for right now, we will wrap this up. For everybody
Okay.
listening, well, it'll be up tomorrow. But for everybody listening tomorrow, please go follow Claire on Twitter. I will send you this episode when it is up. And as always, it's wonderful catching up and very grateful for your time.
Thanks, Tommy. You too. Good to be
Yes,
with you as
ma'am.
well.
You as well. Thank you so much. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Take care.